The silent precursor. The night sky above Earth was as it always was, vast, peaceful, and full of stars. No one on the planet knew that this quiet moment would soon be shattered. It started with a strange anomaly, a flicker in the fabric of space that went unnoticed by most. Then, as if the cosmos itself had torn open, an enormous vessel appeared from the void, so massive that it seemed to swallow the stars around it. Its surface gleamed with a strange iridescent purple hue, pulsing faintly in the darkness, as though it were alive, breathing. Humanity had grown used to the idea of alien life. After years of space exploration and the discovery of distant planets, no one could claim to be truly surprised by the possibility of extraterrestrial intelligence. But this was different. The sheer size and technological advancement of the ship dwarfed anything humanity had ever encountered. It wasn't just another alien species. This was a power that Earth had no way of measuring. At the United Earth Defense Command Center, Admiral Gabrielle Steele sat at her post, eyes locked on the incoming data. She had overseen countless missions and combat scenarios throughout her military career, but this was something she had never prepared for. The ship had appeared with no warning, just a subtle distortion in the stars that could easily have been overlooked by less experienced personnel. But her team had caught it. And now, Earth's fate rested on the decisions they made in the next few hours. "Admiral, we've got a problem," said her second-in-command, Captain Mark Tran, his voice steady but carrying an underlying tension. "The ship it's broadcasting a signal. It's in our frequency range, but I don't understand the data. It's too complex." Gabriel stood and moved toward the large holoscreen, which displayed the ship in stunning detail, its vast form hovering just outside Earth's orbit. The words "broadcast initiating" flashed across the screen, followed by a series of rapid numbers that made no sense to her. As an expert in military tactics, Gabriel could decode enemy signals easily. But this was different. "Open the channel," she ordered, her voice sharp. "Let's hear what they have to say." The transmission cut through the hum of the command center, echoing with mechanical precision. The voice that emerged was cold, deep, and undeniably alien, carrying with it a power that made the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. "People of Earth," it began, the voice almost mocking in its detached tone. "We are the Vrexor Dominion, rulers of 10,000 worlds. You stand in our path, and we offer you a choice. Submit and join us as our vassals, or face complete annihilation. You have 1 Earth month to decide." The command center fell silent as Gabriel's eyes narrowed. The offer was simple: surrender or die. But there was a deeper implication in their words. The Vrexor Dominion, whoever they were, had been watching Earth long enough to know about humanity's growing presence in space. And yet, they were so confident in their superiority that they didn't even seem to consider the possibility of resistance. "Send them our response," Gabrielle said quietly, her voice cold with determination. She turned to Captain Tran, her gaze intense. "This won't be a simple surrender. Humanity has fought too hard for its place in the stars to bow to anyone." Tran nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. As the team worked to transmit Earth's reply, Gabriel couldn't help but wonder what the Vrexor Dominion had overlooked. They might have underestimated the resilience of a species that had survived countless wars, natural disasters, and existential threats. And now, the challenge would be to make them understand just how dangerous a species they had chosen to threaten. A few moments passed before the data was ready to be sent, a carefully crafted message that offered no hint of weakness. It would not be a plea for mercy, nor an attempt to negotiate. Earth's message would be clear: we are not your vassals. You chose the wrong planet to threaten. "Transmission complete," Tran said, his voice steady, but with an edge of anticipation. Gabriel stared at the screen, where the Vrexor ship loomed ominously, waiting for their response. They had just opened the door to a conflict that could change the course of history forever. But Gabriel knew one thing for sure: humanity was not going down without a fight. As the countdown began for the Vrexor Dominion's deadline, Gabrielle turned to her team and said with a fierce resolve, "Let's show them what it means to threaten Earth, the unyielding spirit of humanity." As the Vrexor Dominion's massive ship loomed over Earth, a strange calm descended upon the United Earth Defense Command Center. The initial shock of the aliens' ultimatum had worn off, replaced by a quiet, steely resolve. There was no panic, no fear, just a determination that ran through the heart of every person in that room. Humanity had faced extinction before, disease, war, famine, but each time it had come back stronger. Now, the Earth stood at the threshold of its greatest challenge yet, and this time it was not going to bow down. Admiral Gabrielle Steele paced in front of the holographic map that illuminated the center of the command room. Her mind raced, analyzing every possible angle, every piece of data. The Vrexor Dominion had given them 30 Earth days to surrender, but the more she considered their message, the more it became clear this was not just an alien invasion. This was a test of human will. The Vrexor thought humanity was weak, primitive, incapable of understanding their power. But Gabrielle knew better. "They think we're going to fold," she muttered to herself, her fingers brushing against the edge of the map. "They think we're just some primitive species, playing with fire. But they haven't seen what we're capable of." Her second-in-command, Captain Mark Tran, approached, holding a tablet with the latest intelligence data. He had been on the front lines of Earth's military operations for years, and even he couldn't help but feel a sense of unease when faced with the sheer scale of the Vrexor threat. But like Gabrielle, he had no intention of backing down. "Admiral," Tran began, breaking her thoughts, "I've been analyzing the Vrexor's transmissions, and I think we might have an edge. Their ship is impressive, but there are weaknesses. Their technology isn't invulnerable. If we can figure out how to exploit these gaps, we can turn the tables." Gabrielle looked at him, eyes narrowing. "You have my attention. What do you have?" Tran quickly ran through the data on his tablet. "Their energy shields are formidable, but not impenetrable. The ship's outer layers are designed for atmospheric entry, which means there are blind spots in their defense system. Certain frequencies of electromagnetic pulses can temporarily disrupt their shields. But here's the thing. They're not expecting us to attack so soon. We could strike before they're fully prepared." Gabrielle nodded, impressed. "I like where you're going with this, but we need more than just a small disruption. We need a way to show them that humanity has no intention of being anyone's servant." She turned to the large war table where a team of military strategists had been working relentlessly since the Vrexor ship's arrival. The table was cluttered with holographic representations of Earth's defense systems, from orbital satellites to classified weaponry hidden in underground bases. Gabrielle's mind moved quickly as she reviewed their options. If the Vrexor wanted a fight, humanity would give them one. But it would be one on their terms. "Commander Harris," Gabrielle called to a senior strategist, "I want a simulation run on Project Titan. Let's see if we can reverse engineer some of their technology. Captain Tran, I need you to brief the teams on our EMP strike plan. We can't wait for their next move. We take the first strike." Within moments, the room was buzzing with activity. Gabrielle walked over to a corner of the command center where Dr. Ellen Turner, head of Earth's top scientific research division, stood by a bank of computers. She was the one who had developed Earth's most advanced technologies, many of which were classified and hidden from the public eye. "Dr. Turner," Gabrielle said, her voice low but firm, "I need you to assess our most recent discoveries. Project Phoenix, the quantum shield technology, and everything else we have under wraps. If we're going to survive this, we need to be prepared to reveal some of our darkest secrets." Turner looked up from her screens, her expression a mix of exhaustion and determination. "Admiral, we've been working on these technologies for years, but we're not quite ready to deploy them in full. If we use them now, we'll reveal to the Vrexor just how powerful we really are, and they'll respond accordingly. The risk of retaliation could wipe out millions of lives." Gabriel paused, thinking carefully. The quantum shield was humanity's most advanced defense system, designed to protect Earth from any number of threats. But it was still in its testing phase, and no one had ever considered the possibility of deploying it in a live conflict. But the Vrexer's ultimatum had forced her hand. "I understand the risks," Gabriel replied. "But if we don't act now, the Vrexer will wipe us out before we have a chance to respond. We don't have time to be cautious. Prepare Project Phoenix for deployment. It's time humanity showed them just what we're made of." As the scientists and engineers scrambled to prepare their systems, Gabriel felt a fire ignite within her. The Vrexer might have underestimated humanity's resilience, but Earth had always been a planet of survivors. From the ancient battles that had shaped civilizations to the modern conflicts that had defined human history, one thing was clear: humanity could be pushed to the brink, but it would never back down. Outside, the Vrexer ship continued its silent vigil, waiting for Earth's response. But the Earth was no longer the passive target it had been when the Dominion first arrived. Gabriel Steele had made a decision, and it was a decision that would change the course of history. "Prepare for battle," she said, her voice steady with purpose. "Let's show them that humanity's strength is not in our weapons, it's in our will to fight." The heart of the storm. The hum of activity in the United Earth Defense Command Center grew louder as the world's most brilliant minds scrambled to prepare for the imminent confrontation. In every corner of the facility, engineers, scientists, and military leaders were putting the finishing touches on their strategies. Time was slipping away. Only 20 days remained before the Vrexer Dominion's deadline. But despite the pressure, a strange sense of unity and purpose hung in the air. Humanity was no longer divided by its differences. It was united by a single, undeniable truth: survival. Admiral Gabriel Steele stood at the command table, her eyes flicking from one display to the next. The holographic projections of the Vrexer ship remained suspended in the air, its menacing shape hanging over Earth like a dark shadow. There was no more time for second-guessing or hesitation. The coming battle would not be won through raw force alone. It would be won through strategy, through ingenuity, and through humanity's unbreakable spirit. "Captain Tran," Gabriel said, her voice calm but firm, "how are we on the EMP strike? Can we hit their shields before they even know what's happening?" Tran, who had spent countless hours refining the attack plan, nodded. "We're ready, Admiral. The EMP burst will be aimed directly at their outer shields, with the goal of creating a temporary blackout. It'll disrupt their energy systems just long enough for us to launch a follow-up strike. We've also sensed it with our own satellite network, so that we have eyes on their every move." Gabriel's eyes flicked toward the main screen, where the Vrexer ship hovered ominously in space, waiting like a predator watching its prey. Despite the intensity of the moment, she felt a flicker of confidence. Humanity had always thrived when cornered, and the Vrexer had made the mistake of thinking that they were facing a primitive species. Gabriel knew better. Humans had always been at their strongest when forced to fight for their lives. "Good," she replied, nodding her approval. "Once the shields are down, we'll initiate Phase 2. Project Phoenix is our trump card. Let's show them just how far we've come." At the far end of the room, Dr. Ellen Turner and her team of scientists were working feverishly to prepare the quantum shielding system that had never been tested in a real-world scenario. The technology had been developed to protect Earth's most vital infrastructure from catastrophic events: asteroid impacts, solar flares, even nuclear war. But its full potential had never been unlocked. Now, it was humanity's last hope. "Dr. Turner," Gabriel said, turning toward the scientist, "are we ready to deploy Phoenix if the situation demands it?" Dr. Turner's face was drawn with exhaustion, but there was a fire in her eyes. "We've had to adjust the protocols for a live deployment, but yes, it's ready. The quantum shields will create a bubble around our forces, essentially making them invisible to the Vrexer's targeting systems. It's risky, but it's our best shot at leveling the playing field." Gabriel didn't flinch. "We'll take the risk. Make sure the system is primed for immediate activation. If we're going to survive, We need to be unpredictable. With the initial strike plans in place, Gabrielle turned her focus to a more personal matter. She had always prided herself on keeping her emotions in check, but this was different. This wasn't just about strategy or victory. This was about something much deeper. The survival of everything humanity had built, everything they had fought for. Her mind drifted briefly to her own family, to her daughter, Isla, who had followed her mother's footsteps into the field of diplomacy. Gabrielle hadn't seen Isla in months, and the thought of never seeing her again was almost too much to bear. But she couldn't afford to focus on that now. Not when the fate of the world rested on her decisions. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Jacobson, his voice breaking through her thoughts. "The Vrexer have initiated a countermeasure. They've begun scanning our satellites for weaknesses. They know we're planning something." Gabrielle's brow furrowed. "They won't expect us to act so soon. We have to move now." The countdown to the EMP strike began. The tension in the room was palpable as the command center prepared for the first move in humanity's struggle for survival. Gabrielle could feel the weight of the world on her shoulders, but she pushed it aside. There was no time for fear, no room for doubt. The Vrexer Dominion had chosen to challenge humanity, and now humanity would rise to meet it. "Initiate EMP strike," Gabrielle ordered, her voice unwavering. The first strike came swiftly, a pulse of energy that tore through space toward the Vrexer ship. For a brief moment, the world held its breath. Then the holographic map displayed the result. Success. The Vrexer shields flickered, destabilizing under the unexpected assault. "Phase 2, launch Project Phoenix," Gabrielle commanded. With a single word, the next phase of humanity's counterattack was unleashed. The quantum shielding system, though experimental, activated with a surge of energy that rippled across the Earth's atmosphere. Within moments, the first wave of human forces, stealth drones, advanced fighter jets, and defense satellites, became nearly invisible to the Vrexer sensors. The Vrexer ship, once so confident in its superiority, now found itself blindsided. The tables had turned. But the Vrexer were not a species known for their complacency. As the first wave of human forces began to regroup for a second strike, a new message came through from the alien ship, a chilling warning. "Humanity," the voice boomed, its tone cold and venomous. "You have made your choice. But know this, your resistance is futile. We have only begun." Gabrielle's heart raced, but she stood firm. "Let them come. We'll show them that humanity doesn't just survive. We thrive." And so the true battle for Earth began, not just a fight for survival, but a fight for the right to stand as equals in the universe. The Vrexer had underestimated humanity once, but they would not make that mistake again. The awakening of the humans. The Vrexer had issued their warning. Their threats echoed across the stars, their promises of destruction sending shivers through Earth's defenses. But what the Dominion had failed to grasp, what they had overlooked in their arrogance, was humanity's ability to adapt, to innovate, and to fight back with everything it had. As the first phase of their counterattack unfolded, the world watched with bated breath. The future of Earth and of humanity hung in the balance. Admiral Gabrielle Steele stood in the heart of the command center, her eyes glued to the holographic projections in front of her. The Vrexer ship, massive and imposing, now showed signs of disarray. The EMP strike had disrupted their shields, and the quantum shielding had rendered their targeting systems nearly useless. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, humanity had gained the upper hand. "Admiral, we've got confirmation," Captain Tran said, his voice filled with a sense of urgency. "The Vrexer ship is attempting to recalibrate their shields, but it's going to take them time. We got maybe 10 minutes before they're back at full capacity." Gabrielle nodded, her mind calculating the next move. "We don't have 10 minutes. We take the initiative now." She turned to Lieutenant Jacobson, who was monitoring the satellite network. "I need all stealth fighters prepped and ready to launch in 5 minutes. They'll be our vanguard. Hit them while they're still vulnerable." As the command center sprang to life, Gabrielle allowed herself a moment to reflect on the journey that had led them to this point. It had been humanity's ingenuity that had brought them here. The breakthroughs in quantum physics, the stealth technology, the self-repairing drones, all of it had been leading to this singular moment. Humanity had always been resourceful, finding ways to adapt and survive against overwhelming odds. And now, that ingenuity was being put to the test. On the surface of Earth, the world's citizens watched as the skies lit up with flashes of light. Fighter jets, armed with advanced weaponry, streaked toward the Vrexor ship. These were humanity's finest. The pilots, engineers, and soldiers who had spent their lives preparing for this very moment. But it wasn't just about technology or weapons. It was about heart, about the unyielding desire to defend everything that had been built. Family, friends, freedom. Meanwhile, aboard Earth's most advanced space station, a group of engineers were finalizing their preparations for an even more daring maneuver. Project Titan, a multi-layered defense system designed to create a protective barrier around Earth, was ready for deployment. This was the last line of defense. If the Vrexor found a way to break through the EMP disruptions and recalibrate their shields, Project Titan would stand between Earth and the Dominion's wrath. Dr. Turner, working tirelessly alongside her team, had monitored the entire course of the battle from her lab. The deployment of Project Titan wasn't just a defensive move, it was a message, a declaration that humanity would not be cowed into submission. That they would fight, not just for survival, but for their right to exist in the vast, unknown universe. "Activate Titan," Gabrielle ordered. Her voice was calm, but beneath it ran the current of urgency that had driven her every decision since the Vrexor's first broadcast. "Project Titan, engaged." Dr. Turner's voice crackled over the comm. "Energy levels are stable. Initiating planetary defense shield." As the words left her lips, a dome of shimmering energy enveloped the planet, its surface rippling with the power of humanity's greatest scientific achievement. The Vrexor ship, now aware of the humanity's new weapon, began to shift into defensive mode, but it was too late. The shield was already in place. "Admiral, we've got movement," Captain Tran said, his voice tight. "The Vrexor are launching countermeasures. They're sending drones into space, automated, but still dangerous." Gabriel's lips tightened into a grim smile. "Let them come. We'll show them what humanity can do when we fight for what's ours." The drones, small but fast, zipped through space toward Earth's defenses, their weapons trained on the new shield. But Earth's forces were ready. Stealth fighters streaked into action, targeting the drones with precision strikes that obliterated them one by one. The skies above Earth became a battlefield, a deadly dance of light and sound. The Vrexor had underestimated humanity's resolve. They had expected Earth to cower in fear, to submit to their will. But the fight had only just begun. Back at the command center, Gabrielle watched as the data flooded in, her mind working quickly to process the changing battlefield. The Vrexor had underestimated humanity's resilience, but they hadn't yet realized the full extent of the challenge ahead of them. "Lieutenant Jacobson, how long until our reinforcements are in position?" Gabrielle asked, her gaze fixed on the tactical map. "5 minutes, Admiral," Jacobson replied, his voice unwavering. "We've got every available fighter en route, and our satellite network is locked onto their position." "Good," Gabrielle said, her lips curling into a determined grin. "Prepare the final strike. Let's show them what it means to mess with humanity." As Earth's forces continued to press their advantage, the Vrexor ship began to fall back. The once immense threat was now visibly strained, struggling against the relentless push of humanity's ingenuity and strength. The battle wasn't over, not by a long shot, but humanity had already proved its point. It was no longer a species to be trifled with. The Vrexor had made one critical mistake. They had underestimated humanity's unyielding spirit, and as the final phase of the battle drew closer, they would come to realize that humanity's greatest weapon was not its technology, but its heart. The turning tide. The battlefield in space had become a chaotic symphony of light, sound, and force. Humanity's forces, a ragtag yet fiercely determined coalition of fighter jets, drones, and orbital defense systems, were now fully engaged with the Vrexor Dominion's retaliatory measures. Earth's most advanced technology, from quantum shields to Project Titan, had leveled the playing field, but the war was far from over. Admiral Gabrielle Steele stood at the heart of the command center, her eyes never leaving the holographic display before her. The Vrexor ship, though heavily damaged from the earlier EMP strike and disrupted by Earth's quantum defenses, was not yet defeated. They were retreating, but only to regroup and launch their next phase of attack. Captain Tren. Gabrielle's voice was steady, but her thoughts were a whirlwind. We need to end this now. Their retreat is just a ruse. Expect them to regroup and strike harder. Tran, ever the pragmatist, nodded in acknowledgement. They're recalibrating their main weapon systems. If we don't take them out soon, they'll have enough firepower to overwhelm our defenses. We need a decisive strike. Gabrielle's mind raced as she pieced together the puzzle. The Vrexor had underestimated humanity at every turn, assuming that Earth's technological advancements were rudimentary. They had failed to recognize the depth of human creativity, the unyielding drive that had propelled humanity from primitive beginnings to interstellar exploration. Deploy all available stealth drones, Gabrielle ordered, her voice resolute, and get our ground forces ready. We need to hit them where it hurts, before they recover. Across the command center, the team sprang into action. The war was no longer just about defending Earth. It had become a contest of wills. The Vrexor had shown their hand. Now, it was time for humanity to demonstrate its true power. Meanwhile, in the depths of Earth's hidden bunkers, a team of engineers and scientists were completing the final preparations for a weapon that had never before been used in combat, the Solar Harbinger. This device, built by the combined efforts of Earth's brightest minds, was humanity's last gambit. If the Vrexor were allowed to regroup, they would be unstoppable. The Solar Harbinger, a weapon capable of harnessing the full energy of the sun, was humanity's hope for victory. We're ready to fire, Dr. Turner's voice echoed through the comm system, breaking Gabrielle's focus. This will send a signal to the Vrexor they won't ignore. Gabrielle gave a quick nod, her resolve as solid as steel. Fire it. Now. Above Earth, the Solar Harbinger activated. A surge of energy, brighter than anything humanity had ever seen, shot through space. It wasn't an attack in the conventional sense. Rather, it was a message, a signal of humanity's potential, its defiance, and its refusal to submit to any alien force. The sheer scale of the energy burst created a ripple that echoed through space, disrupting the fabric of reality itself. The Vrexor ship, once a towering figure of technological superiority, staggered as the wave of energy hit it. Their shields, already compromised, flickered dangerously. The Solar Harbinger wasn't just an offensive weapon. It was an energy display so powerful that it overwhelmed the Vrexor's remaining defenses. For the first time in this battle, the Vrexor were on the defensive. They could no longer rely on their sheer might alone. Gabrielle felt a surge of victory, but there was no time to celebrate. The Vrexor, as powerful as they were not easily defeated. They would come back with a vengeance. The next move would decide everything. Captain Tren, I need our fleet to engage them now, before they have a chance to recover, Gabrielle said, the command firm in her tone. Tran turned to his crew, barking orders. A new wave of humanity's forces launched into space, an armada of ships, drones, and fighters designed to finish the job. Earth's military had been bolstered not just by technology, but by the unbreakable will of its people, the very essence of what it meant to be human. And that was something the Vrexor had failed to understand. As the final wave of human forces approached the Vrexor ship, the Vrexor tried to retaliate. Their weapons, powerful and precise, targeted the human ships, but they were no longer prepared for the relentless determination of humanity. Stealth drones swooped in, undetected by their failing scanners, and unleashed a barrage of precision missiles at the heart of the Vrexor ship. Inside the command center, Gabriel watched with bated breath as the battle unfolded. The Vrexor ship, once a symbol of unstoppable power, was now reeling from humanity's strike. But the battle wasn't over yet. The Dominion still had one last card to play. "We've breached their main reactor," Lieutenant Jacobson reported. "It's destabilizing. They're about to go into a full defensive mode." Gabriel's eyes narrowed. "It's now or never. If we don't end this now, they'll be back with a full force that could crush us." The final battle had begun. The final gambit. The battle had reached its crescendo. The Vrexor ship, once the epitome of might, was now staggered, vulnerable, and faltering. Humanity's forces, though far from overwhelming in size, were united in purpose and determination. For every strike the Vrexor attempted, humanity countered with a relentless wave of innovation, heart, and sheer willpower. Admiral Gabriel Steele stood at the heart of Earth's command center, the room vibrating with energy as final reports came in. The Vrexor were reeling from the unexpected force of humanity's strike, their once dominant ship now a flailing behemoth on the verge of collapse. But Gabriel knew this wasn't over yet. The Vrexor had more than enough technology to retaliate, and their pride, so deeply ingrained in their culture, meant they would not go down without a fight. "Captain Tren," Gabriel said, her voice low but resolute, "can we confirm the status of the Vrexor ship's reactor?" Tren turned to the holographic display, his face tense as he analyzed the data. "We've got a solid lock on their reactor core. It's unstable, but they've initiated emergency repairs. If we don't take them out now, their weapons will be back online within minutes." Gabriel clenched her fists. She had to make the decision now. Earth's future, the future of every man, woman, and child, depended on this moment. "Prepare all forces for a final strike. We go straight for the reactor. We end this." Outside the command center, the sky above Earth was lit by the fiery remnants of the Solar Harbinger's blast. The Vrexor ship was now locked in a desperate struggle, trying to maintain its integrity while humanity's forces continued their onslaught. But the Vrexor weren't finished. They still had their pride, and their pride had led them to one final terrifying measure, the self-destruct sequence. Gabriel's eyes narrowed as the alarm blared in the command center. The Vrexor had initiated their ultimate weapon, their last resort. If humanity couldn't destroy the reactor in time, the ship would explode in a burst of energy powerful enough to wipe out Earth's defenses and leave the planet vulnerable to an even greater Vrexor invasion. "Admiral, we've got a problem," Lieutenant Jacobson called from his station. "The Vrexor ship's self-destruct is primed and counting down. We've only got minutes before it detonates." Gabriel's heart pounded in her chest. There was no time to waste. Humanity was not going to be destroyed by a dying alien ship. They had come too far. Too many had fought for this moment. There would be no retreat, no surrender. It was now or never. "Initiate Phase 3. Target their reactor with everything we've got," she commanded. "I don't care what it takes. Disable their self-destruct, or we'll have no choice but to take the Vrexor down once and for all." At that moment, the world's most advanced fleet of stealth ships and drones prepared for their final assault. The air around Earth was thick with anticipation as the fighters entered a predetermined formation, converging on the Vrexor ship's vulnerable core. A new wave of human ingenuity, driven by desperation and hope, took flight. The first wave of fighters launched a concentrated barrage of quantum missiles directly at the reactor's power systems. The Vrexor ship shuddered as the impact hit, but the self-destruct countdown continued, even as damage cascaded through its hull. The second wave of drones moved in, performing high-speed evasions, dodging the last-ditch defense mechanisms the Vrexor were desperately trying to activate. Gabriel stood silent, watching the unfolding battle. Her mind raced. The self-destruct sequence was still counting down, but there was something she hadn't counted on, a final countermeasure from the Vrexor. As the missiles struck, The Frexer ship's core began emitting a pulse that could interfere with Earth's electronic systems, scrambling communication and navigation across the fleet. Captain Tran, recalibrate targeting systems. Gabriel barked. We need to lock in on that reactor again before they hit us with another wave of interference. Tran and his crew worked frantically, their fingers flying over the controls as they reoriented the fleet's weapons to the reactor core. Time was slipping away. Humanity's last chance was slipping through their fingers. The countdown reached its final seconds. 3, 2, 1. Gabriel's voice was a whisper as she held her breath. And then, as the countdown reached its final moment, the impossible happened. The reactor exploded in a brilliant burst of energy, but not in the way the Frexer had expected. The carefully calculated strike from humanity's forces had triggered a chain reaction that disabled the self-destruct sequence and contained the energy just enough to neutralize the Frexer's final weapon. The Frexer ship, damaged beyond repair, began to break apart in the vacuum of space. Humanity's forces moved in quickly, finishing the job with precision and certainty. One final wave of attacks crippled the Frexer flagship, sending the alien vessel into a tailspin toward Earth's atmosphere. The threat that had loomed over the planet for so long was now gone, burned away in the final moments of humanity's unrelenting fight for survival. Admiral Gabrielle Steele allowed herself a moment to breathe. The room around her was filled with the sound of cheers, but it was tempered by the solemn realization of what had been lost. Many lives had been sacrificed, but humanity had prevailed. The Frexor Dominion, who had once thought Earth to be nothing more than a collection of primitive beings, were now nothing more than a distant memory. The threat had passed, but the world had forever changed. The message was clear. Humanity was not to be underestimated. Gabrielle stood tall as the final reports came in. Prepare for recovery efforts, she ordered. The battle is over, but the war for our future has just begun.